Good morning and welcome to another Daily NOTAM video. We are covering the last flight of Mr. Steve Mensch, and there are several factors to his flight that I believe are being missed. And so in order to aid in the determination of the causal factors here, and to help other pilots, I want to share this information and provide some insight. So we see that early on in his flight, he initially climbed up higher. I don't think that there's too much about this. I think he, maybe anticipating weather further north or visibility. He came back down to 2,300 feet, which would feel like is low for cross country, especially at night. But this is all decision making on his. The irregularity happens in about 22 minutes, where he, through two different angular turns, makes 180 degrees to back the way he came, and that is offset to his course heading there. He stays on that course for about a half hour, and then makes a turn to the right, and then through angular turns, and then back towards Cedar Key. Now, I think this is when he remembered that the airport, though it's open, its lights and VASI are noted out of service till further notice. The airport's only open from sunrise to sunset. So, with him turning back to the airport, he realized, hey, you know what? It's this little runway in a sea of darkness, and the lights aren't working. I'm not going to be able to land there. So I believe him recognizing that he had a critical problem on the airplane turned back towards Tampa. And that's what we see. Once he gets into the Tampa area, he starts losing altitude. In fact, he drops down to about 1,500 feet within 20 minutes of heading to Tampa, and he does it all once in the Tampa area. Now, there's several airports that we should look at here in the Tampa area. And if you had something wrong with your airplane, especially electrical problems, maybe you lost part of your electronics. Obviously, he's been able to use his heading indicator and his heading bug. And I don't know if he had a separate autopilot, but it does look like he was able to navigate directly to this airport here, Clearwater International. And he had several options there, Tampa being a great one, the military installation here being another great one. So if you were to come in here and not have radio signal and not have lights and need to land, he correctly made a good decision to go to Tampa, and he could have flown in here on a base approach without radios and without lights, and they would have picked him up on radar and cleared traffic. What I think happened is he came in a scenario like that. There was a lot of jet traffic in the area, and he got nervous, got scared, didn't think they were going to see him. Maybe they weren't diverting, and he does a loop and heads back out of that way. And then by right here, he's on course to CGC, which is an airport right up here near the crash site. I think he said, you know what? I've got an alternative up here. It'll put me closer to home. I don't know if he had been there in the past or had any connections there, but at any rate, he heads that direction. If we follow his course, he gets very close, and an issue here is that he's down to 1,000 feet. I think that he thought he had an electrical issue, maybe was anticipating an electrical fire, and didn't have many of his instruments. At any course, he gets very close to the ground, 1,000 feet that is, and it flies straight and level. I believe he's on autopilot again here. And then what happens is as he gets really close to the airport there, I think he loses his positional awareness and navigation, and he begins doing loops. In fact, he brings it all the way down to 0 feet. Now, it's possible that this is where he would have run out of fuel if he hadn't refueled since his trip from Tampa earlier in the day. That would have put him out of fuel about here as he's right at 2 hours into the flight. He's able to regain some of this. He does several loops and circles about. And I really think what he's trying to do is he's trying to find the airport. I think he's situational awareness lost. Unfortunately, 2 hours north of him, or 2 miles north of him, is this runway here that would have or should have been easy to see, especially if the lights were on. I think he was trying to find that in the dark. And unfortunately, whenever that wasn't an option and perhaps he ran out of fuel, he made a last turn and crashed somewhere in here. I think that this point is off. I believe he crashed somewhere right in here and literally so close to the road that it would have been somewhere about here, north of these ponds. And it was so close to the road that he nearly hit the stop sign coming from the side road onto that main portion of the highway there. So again, I think that we should be recognizing that he made several intentional turns. I believe that he overshot the return to Cedar Key, doing troubleshooting, trying to figure out what was going on. And really that only turned into about 20 minutes of flight time. And 20 minutes is not very long whenever you're trying to sort through things, read through your operating handbook, decipher what might be a problem. And I had a similar scenario where I lost electrical power. What it was, my button, I had a push button start, and that button, even though the casing of it came out, I don't think the inside of it returned, and my starter stayed engaged. It was at night over southern Missouri. I took off from North Arkansas, and I had just fueled up, but I'm flying along. It just got really dark over southern Missouri, and I noticed that my fuel gauge is empty. I look over, empty, and so I get my flashlight. I look out on the wings. I had another person with me. He looks out over here. Nope, there's no fuel leaking. The caps are on. Turn the attention back into the cockpit, which I noticed I've lost my radios, several of my instruments. Shortly after that, all the lights go completely dark. And thankfully, I had the initial thought that I should have kept, which was to fly to Fort Leonard Wood, have him turn on the lights, spotlight me, and get me down on the ground. At least I could see the ground and I'd be safe. But that being a military installation, I got nervous. I didn't know how that would work. Would they shoot me out of the air coming in like that? And so I made the decision to divert along my route. I did have decent situational awareness and was able to divert along my route. And I did get low. I got much lower than I wanted to, but I was trying to get cell service. And that may have been one of Steve's attempts there, was to get cell service, to call 911, let them know where I was, try to get a municipality to turn on their runway lights, or all the ones in the areas. And I got near Avon, Missouri. Another plane came in, turned on the lights, and I dropped in right behind them and landed. So as soon as I saw this and saw the flight pattern, I recognized that it would have looked something like that. And if I would have died in that crash, people wouldn't have understood what went on. And so I thought it was important to share the things that I saw in this flight pattern. And hopefully that aids in determining the final cause of accident and helping general aviation become safer pilots. So thank you, and until the next Daily Notum, Nathan Schultz.